Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Fox, and welcome to this edition of Inside the Investigation. Today, a Hampton cold case from back in 1977. Her name, Carol Glasgow, 40 years old, disappeared on September 7th, 1977. Here to discuss the case, Jill Daszkowski, and she is with the Hampton Cold Case Unit. And next to her is Corporal Eric Hart, detective with the Major Crimes Unit. Thanks very much for coming in here to share this case with us. Before we get to some information from them, I want to give you a little bit of background. This was a report that was filed by Monique Braxton, one of my longtime colleagues from many years ago. She filed this report about the Glasgow case. Take a look.
It was probably hard on my younger brothers, but pretty traumatic experience.
33-year-old Michael Glasgow was just 17 when his mom, Carol, disappeared from their former home here on Berkshire Terrace.
I was supposed to get up and take her to work in her car because I was going to take her car because mine was wrecked. And we woke up in the morning and she was gone.
1 month later, her dismembered and badly decomposed body was found near a trash dump off Route 17.
She was a good person. She was brought up right.
Mike says the recent cases of Janice Lee in Portsmouth and an unidentified man along Route 44 bring back memories.
It starts you to wondering, if it could be the same person, years later.
Now, 16 years later, Hampton police still believe there are too many bizarre circumstances in the Glasgow case.
A decision was made to bring this case out with hopes that it may motivate someone to give us a call that could give a lead that would help York County and Hampton solve this case.
How about that? That was back in 1993. Monique talked about bizarre circumstances. Corporal, tell me about what the bizarre circumstances are in this case.
Well, it started out in September 7th of 1977 where she was sleeping on the couch. She went to her couch and everybody went to bed. The family went to bed right around midnight, 11 o'clock, between 11 and 12 o'clock at night. They went to bed. And the next morning she went to work and she was gone. No sign of a struggle. There was no sign of foul play, no robberies, nothing of that nature. She just went to bed and disappeared the next day.
So your detectives show up and, the bizarre circumstances begs a lot of questions. I mean, did you look at the family? Were they involved? How could something nefarious have happened to her in some type of a struggle and no one would have awakened to help mom?
Correct. That's one of the big questions that we have today is why did nobody hear nothing? Why did nobody see nothing? It's not like Carol to go, according to the family, just to up and disappear and not make any contact with the family, not make any notifications that she was leaving, not she was going outside the house, and she was gone. The only thing that they had at that time was at the scene was blood. It was blood found at the scene.
Yeah, that was my next question. What evidence inside the home suggests this bizarre circumstance?
There was some blood that was found at the scene, small droplets of blood that was found at the scene. There was also a baseball bat that was located there with some hair follicles that were consistent with that of Miss Glasgow. And during the initial analysis, there was some cleaning solvents that appeared to be on the couch that was used to diluted some of the blood samples that were found.
Yeah. Suggesting that she was hit in the head with a baseball bat. Was that the weapon, or you can't determine?
We can't determine that at this point. And that's
but there were
part
hair follicles on the bat.
There was hair follicles consistent with that of Miss Glasgow, yes, sir.
On the bat,
yes.
And blood.
And there was no blood on the bat. There was blood within the couch, as well as some articles that were there at the scene.
What can you tell us about the interrogation of the family?
When interviewing the family, they did. The family really had no answers for us, other than that they went to bed, and when they went to bed, they woke up. They didn't hear anything. They said they didn't hear any loud commotions. They heard what they thought maybe somebody, like she was cleaning up in the kitchen, and then she disappeared.
Okay, now, I believe that her body was found on October 2nd, 1977, about a month later. Tell me
Correct.
about that.
That was on October 2nd, 1977. A owner of some property up in York County was walking his fence line of his property out of a abandoned house that was up there. And about 75 yards off the street, they found a decapitated female and female with her hands had been severed from her body.
What do you read into that? Was that a signal? Did that go to a type of violent, type of deranged person who may have done something like that, to go that extra step to do that?
It appears as though almost like they were trying to hide her identity so she wouldn't be found.
And I'm assuming that the head and the the hands,
Yes.
were they ever found?
They've not been
Never
found to this date.
Never found to this day. Why is and you're with the cold case unit?
Yes.
How does this figure into that?
So, we were discussing this, that 1977, this was horrific back then, and it still holds horrific in 2025. So this is one of several cold cases we have, and we are hoping that by coming on here, that the family gets some type of closure that they so deserve for
Okay.
this happening.
Very good. And we'll get into how, science and technology has changed the investigation. But Corporal, going back, when investigators started getting into this, what were the challenges for them?
The challenges were the lack of evidence at the time. Back in the day, there wasn't the technology advancements that we have today where we can send stuff off to the lab, and DNA was not a thing back then. And you needed large amounts to even just get a blood typing or hair follicle matching back in the day. And the biggest challenge was the lack of witnesses. Nobody knows why she left or how she left the house or who made her leave the house.
Yeah, because it really begs the question about the family. What did the family know, and when did they know it, if they knew anything at all?
And if they still know something today, that's what we're hoping, that they will feel comfortable now coming forward and talking to us.
Are you still in contact with them?
Yes, we've been in contact with them on a regular basis. Yes, sir.
Is there anything more that they can provide that they haven't already provided?
If they know something, who did it?
Do you think they do? Perhaps.
It's a possibility.
Why would they not come forward?
That's the question that we've all wondered. That is the question. I don't even know if we can answer that, why they wouldn't come forward. Everybody has their own reason why, but they may not know anything, and it may be something that's the mystery behind this case.
And coming up in our next segment, I mean, this case is so cold and so old. All the major detectives who were working this are no longer with us.
Correct. That's another big challenge, is there's all the witnesses that they did have in the day. They're all gone now.
He's feeding me the tease for this. Coming up in our next segment, we're going to talk about that. We'll be right back. Okay, everyone, thanks for joining us back here. Carol Glasgow, it was a cold case, 40-year-old. She was killed on September 7th, 1977. And we've been discussing that case. This is so cold and so old, all the major detectives are no longer with us. What are the challenges of a case like this? The challenges of a cold case?
Some of the things is all the evidence. It's the evidence is old. Is it still usable? Does it get degraded over the years? Is it still available? Do we still have it in our property and evidence? Luckily, in this case, we worked well with York County, and we were able to recover a lot of the evidence that consolidated all over into Hampton, where their evidence and our evidence are now together, working together with other agencies and being able to actually speak to those detectives to see what they had back in the days.
Has there been any new DNA or any new evidence that's been taken to be checked?
We have had some DNA. Back in the day, they did have positive blood typing back in 1977, and now when we come forward, the DNA that they had back in the day is not there anymore. It's gone. It's been used up by past forensics, and that's the challenges that we're having, is trying to get usable DNA that they had back in the day.
Now, her body was located in York County in the 100 block of Back Creek Road in a wooded area. Obviously, her body was left by someone who knew the area. Yes.
Yes.
Tell me about that. And how did that lead inside the investigation into, checking out the environment?
Right. That was the mystery at the time. Back in 1977, the detectives, they didn't have her able to identify her. So when they put her back there in the woods, the big mystery was where was all that stuff? Where's all the extra evidence, the missing evidence, the pillows and stuff that were on the couch and stuff that are missing and are gone? And the detectives had to figure out ways to investigate that case with some missing evidence that they didn't have.
Now, tell me about a search warrant was served.
Correct.
So there was something going on that you all were checking out on that.
Correct. We did.
We love search warrants, by the way.
Yes.
As reporters.
We did a search warrant.
The criminal complaint.
Yes. Yes. And during the investigation, they did do a search warrant at the residence of the Glasgow residence, and that's where they located some of the blood, the DNA that they had to find from the scene, and some of the blood that was found on the carpet and on the couch and stuff of that nature.
Now, and I'm referring to the notes here. It's really amazing to me that there were no signs of a struggle. Were there?
Even based on the evidence that they found, it appears that the scene may have been altered, because even with the forensics...
Does that bring us back to the family?
Possibly.
If it's altered, who would have altered it?
Right. Why was there cleaning solution found on the couch? Why was the blood sample have a cleaning solution inside of it? It degraded the sample.
Have you ever felt like perhaps the family doesn't want you to continue investigating this?
No. They're actually the ones that reached out to us in 2023. The family reached out to us and wanted us to continue their investigation. They wanted closure for Miss Glasgow's daughter, or I'm sorry, Miss Glasgow's sister, who is in her 90s now, and she wants closure before the end of life stuff.
Also, with the evidence and the investigation at the time, what were some more of the complications? Were people cooperating? Was there anyone to cooperate?
That's who they didn't have witnesses back then. They had family, they had friends, they know the history of how the families was, but with the lack of a lot of evidence, it made the case very difficult.
Okay, and Jill, how this is the complication from a court case? What is your experience with that? I mean, and you have, and we'll talk about in our third segment about all the cases that you have as part of the cold case website and everything. What is the complication of all this? What is is there a common thread among all these cold cases?
Well, the complication is 1977 to current day, technology has advanced so much. And if this had happened today, it'd be a different story as far as technology and testing and forensics. But we can only go with what they had back then in 1977. And we've tried to bring things back and tried to forensically get them examined again. And we've been unlucky in that so far. And again, witnesses, that's another thing. Witnesses, are they still around? Again, how many years ago we said this was? 40 some years ago, over 40 years ago. The same witnesses we had back then are no longer, some are no longer around. So family's around, and we're hoping that somebody, family, friends of the Glasgows will feel comfortable coming forward and giving information. Even if they don't think it's relevant, let us know. Let us look at that evidence.
Yeah, at least give you a chance to
Just
do
give
something
us-
about
yes.
that. Because we know that these cases get solved because we had the Colonial Parkway murders, Alan Wilmer Sr., and that was a Hampton case, Teresa Howe, okay? And there was a DNA there, DNA with Robin Edwards, tied in with Alan Wilmer Sr. And so these things do never know.
Right. And just give us that opportunity to look at and to hear what you know. Give us a call.
Okay, very good. Now, coming up in our third segment, we are going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about the cold case unit, about the website where people can go to find out information. I know I'm going to go there to look for more of these cases that are fascinating to me because I did a lot of reporting on the Colonial Parkway murders. And when that case was solved, it gave everyone hope because that went on for, since the last case of that was in 1989. And then finally, I remember in January of 2024, we broke the story. Hey, they got a hit.
Right.
Come on. So we'll be back with more of that and cold cases and how you can help right after this. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Inside the Investigation. We are talking about a case, Carol Glasgow. She was murdered. Her body was left in York County. She had been decapitated, and her hands have been severed, obviously to try to hide her identity. Joining us are good folks from Hampton, and let's continue our discussion on what happened this happened in 1977. What happened in 1993?
They had our cold case unit started on reviewing a lot of cases from within the agency, and one of the cases that was reviewed by Detective J.D. Spencer was the Carol Glasgow case. Due to the high solvability factor on it, they looked at it and this was a very high solvability case.
What made that so?
It just based on the nature of what we've been talking about this whole podcast of how it's happened. It's so confined. The scene is pretty much confined to two locations, one at her residence and then one up at the address up on York County. And there's not much more than those two scenes that we have. The big question is how was she transported there? So that's where they started to look in, see if they could find witnesses. Back in 1993, they tried to see if they could re-interview some of the witnesses and talk to some people that were still around with us, unfortunately, that are not here today to give their side of the story.
Yeah,
anymore.
all the investigators have passed as well.
Correct. So all we have is reports and stuff to go by.
Did anything come out after you reopened the case in 1993? Anything new?
Nothing new. That's surprising. That's why we're here today. We're trying to see if there's anybody that out there that knows something that's willing to talk to us now to help us to bring closure to the family, to bring closure for her sister and her children. Anybody that want to talk.
Because what happened in 2023?
In 2020,
they did want to talk.
They did. The family called us. The family asked us to look at the case again and see if there was anything additional. That's when we decided we're going to send some of the stuff off that we recovered from York County, and we resubmitted a lot of evidence from both Hampton and York County to the lab, and unfortunately we were unsuccessful in those and getting a DNA match of anything at the items that we submitted.
And inside the investigation, how frustrating is this? I mean, and because you think about the man and woman hours that have been put in to trying to solve this case.
It's challenging. It's a very challenging investigation when you know it's solvable and you believe you have a person of interest in the case, and you just don't have the evidence there to get over that hump to make the charges and closure for the family.
And that's why you've come in, to get us over the hump. And so Detective Jill Daszkowski is here. She is a detective with the Hampton Cold Case Unit. What do you want people to do?
I want people to come forward with any information they have about the Glasgows. Anything, if they remember what happened back in 1977, did they witness anything? Did they hear anything? Did they see anything? Anything that, even if they don't feel that it's important or pertinent, let us hear it or see it and figure that out. Like, we want closure for the family. And I know there's never exact closure for anything, but we want some form of closure for them.
Right. And where should people call you, get in contact? Of course, 188-LOCK-YOU-UP.
Yes, 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP. And also, if they want to go through
P3.
a website, p3tips.com,
Right.
so they can send there. And people can be anonymous as well if they want to. They can call our major crimes unit.
Is there a reward out? Has there been a reward put out for this?
I don't think there's a physical actual reward, but there's always the reward if you call through the crime line. You have the possibility getting up to I think it's up to $1,500 for any information that may lead to this. It may be something as small as somebody told you something, or somebody made a confession to you, but due to the fact that they're no longer with us, that maybe you want to come forward and say, okay, that's what he told me back in the day. Or
And once again, this is Carol right here. Beautiful woman.
Very.
I mean, just really striking. Her husband was a person of interest. Let me ask you about that again.
Okay.
About her husband. What was, from the notes that you've read and seen, what was he all about? Because he was a person of interest.
He was
right?
cooperative. Yes, he was cooperative in the investigation. He came forward on the morning of September 9th of 1977 and reported his wife missing after she didn't show up for work on the morning of September 8th. So there was a 24-hour gap there between the time she was known missing to the time that they reported. We did talk to him. He did speak with us and told us his side of his version of events. And
Do you remember what they were? What were the
version of events is that he was sleeping on the couch with her that evening, and they fell asleep watching TV, and he was on the recliner, and around 11:30 he went to bed, and
she stayed downstairs?
She stayed downstairs. She was sleeping on the couch, and at that point when they woke up, he thought that she went to work early and she was never there.
And then the sons, 4 sons,
4 sons said the same thing. That
were they ever persons of interest?
Based off what I have, that they are not persons of interest in this case.
Roughly how old were they at the time?
Their 4 sons were the ages of 11, 14, 17, and 19.
And Michael, that we saw earlier in that report.
Correct. He was 14 at the time.
He was 14 at the time. And then, of course, the family came to you in 2023 and said, "What can?"
Oh, I'm sorry. Michael was 17.
17.
17. Michael was 17.
So he was the oldest.
The middle.
Middle.
Yeah, one of the middle kids.
Okay. And so then they came to you and said, "What can we do about this?"
Correct. Yeah.
But they weren't able to provide any additional information, anything like that.
From what we spoke with them, they unfortunately 1977 is a long time ago, and even memories start to dissipate, and events like that happen unless it was something that you actually witnessed. It may not be something that was fresh in their mind, or they may have something and just want to just not talk to the police. I don't know if that's the case, but
Because that is what I'm stuck on that. To be honest with you, I'm stuck on what went on inside that home and with the father, her husband, the 4 boys. No one heard anything. No one heard anything. And we're saying that there was a bat there,
there was.
that there might have been some type of an attack. How does that attack take place if it does? And no one knows anything or hears anything.
What we're hoping is somebody said something to somebody over the years and somebody talked about the incident, and maybe that person can give us some insight. Maybe that person's been fearful over the years of talking and they may know something.
Yeah. Corporal, tell me more about that. That maybe one of the boys said something?
Either one of the
Husband
boys
said
or the husband said something, and we're hoping that based off conversations that they may have had over the time from 77 to 93 to 2023, maybe something was said to somebody, something maybe I knew something very small. Could be something very small that just is the break in the case that we need.
And if someone does have that, once again, what do you want them to do?
1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP or p3tips.com or call the Major Crimes Unit in Hampton.
And I'm also fascinated and interested in where her body was found and why it was left there and what was going on there and who lives around there to have known to leave a body there.
Right.
Expand about that.
It could be somebody that maybe that's somebody worked out in that area. Somebody was close to that area. I know that the medical examiner did state that this was somebody that may have been a hunter or a butcher or somebody that was in the medical field, because during the decapitation time frame, it was clean cut. And so it could be anybody out there. That it could be hunter in the woods. It could be somebody that worked in that area. Anybody.
Good. Well, listen, Corporal Eric Hart, thank you so much. And Jill Daszkowski, once again, for the folks out there, please, if you know anything about this, if you heard anything from the husband or who's passed or the 4 children, we're
1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP or p3tips.com or call our police department.
And we are going to be bringing Jill and Eric back because we'd like to investigate more of these cold cases and get it out there.
That'd be great.
Is this useful to you guys to do this?
It is.
Yeah, we can reach so many more people this way.
We have a couple of the cold case areas if you're interested in looking on the cold cases.
Yes. What is it?
Yeah, if you have information out there, if you want to go to coldcase.virginiastatepolice.virginia.gov, there are approximately, for Hampton Police, we have inputted approximately 120 cases over the years, starting from early 70s to present.
Eric and Jill, thank you so much. And just for the record, we're doing this in memory of Carol. I mean, this is all about her and finding someone who knows something what happened to this beautiful person. So that is the end of this Inside the Investigation. We are going to keep on top of this. I'm going to try to reach out, hopefully maybe get a family member and do a follow-up story on this. But this was Carol Glasgow, 40 years old. She died on September 7th, 1977, a cold case from Hampton, and we're on it. And I'll have more in the next edition of Inside the Investigation. Thanks for watching. I'm Andy Fox.